In with the hum. Divine blessings, everyone.
Divine evening. We are
We
live.
are live with Bryn Drescher.
Bryn Drescher.
Your
Hey,
mindset
Instagram.
coach. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Instagram. Hey, YouTube. Hey, Facebook. I think that's everybody. We
Hey,
got two
world.
YouTubes here.
What's
Hey,
up, y'all?
everybody. What's up? So, listen, we're really excited to bring in Bryn because we're talking about something that's honestly monumental that's about to go down on February 18th. If you're not aware about it, we are doing the Integrator Summit to integrate mind, body, and spirit in order for you to reach your next level of self-mastery.
Yes. So we have Bryn, who excels at mindset. She is a mindset coach, and she's going to be sharing with us one of the fundamental things when you are doing anything on wherever you at on your journey. You have to have that right mindset.
True.
This is true. This is true. So we're your favorite spiritual couple. Y'all may know about us. If not, you're going to learn today. But Bryn, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So my name is Bryn Drescher. Of course, I like to go by Coach Bryn. Most of my coaching life, and just so everybody that's watching on my Instagram knows, I'm live on of several platforms at the same time. Wow, technology. Anyway, so the point of this is that, I've been coaching for a while. I come from the world of athletics. Initially, athletes were my clients. I mean, it was a mixture over the years, but athletes was kind of what I settled on. And then through getting involved in some other organizations, it's opened up to entrepreneurs as well, because interestingly enough, what I feel athletes and entrepreneurs have in common is that they all are uniquely gifted, think outside the box, and yet still struggle with coming up against themselves in the process of breaking free from the chains of, conventional processes. So anyway, so I help athletes and entrepreneurs win more and make more money. And I do that by helping them, overcome themselves. So that's it.
That's huge.
Love that.
That
Yes.
is huge because honestly, 9 times out of 10, if you can't get yourself to the next level, you are in your own way. So learning how to get out of your own way and step into your true ability, your true sense of capability, because I feel like that's the thing. People aren't convinced that they can do it.
Right.
And so being able to believe not only can I do it, I must do it, and I am the one that can and must actually take the action to get there. So I love that. What was your sport?
I was a track runner.
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, 90% of my athletes have been basketball players. I haven't actually, some of my athletes are multi-sport athletes, so therefore I've coached track sort of by proxy in the mindset space, but most of my athletes have been basketball players. But it was my favorite sport growing up, even though I wasn't gifted in it. I played 2 years in junior high. 2 years in high school. I assume I played in junior high. I just can't remember. But in high school, I definitely played for 2 years. And then I decided I was much better without the ball. Just get rid of the ball and just run real fast in one direction. But I did track all 4 years. I was varsity all 4 years. Went to college, ran track. So obviously it was the sport for me. So.
Okay. We would have lost the bet. He said basketball. I said volleyball.
Good.
No,
great. Yeah, no,
volleyball.
definitely not volleyball. I'm 5'7", but that's kind of short in volleyball land.
Are you really?
Enough to be a setter. Yeah, I'm only 5'7".
You look taller.
Thank you.
We only see you usually here.
Well, I have main character energy, so that's what you're seeing coming across. So.
I love that main character energy.
Yes, you got to have main character energy, and then everybody would think you're tall too.
That part. I actually am tall. I'm pretty.
Oh, okay. So how tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
Oh, wow. You are tall then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I be sitting down, so y'all, you know what I mean?
So you're one of those tall people that feels like you have to make yourself smaller for everyone else. Oh, that's interesting. Anyway, keep going with the question.
Just so y'all know, Bryn from that Midwest, she bring that Windy City.
She's spicy. She's spicy.
And we love that.
Yeah, we do love that. So
Bryn, how did you get started on your journey?
Everybody got an icky mess. Most of us coaches, We started out in a place that was like not too beautiful, and we had to go over through some stuff and get to the other side. So tell us about that journey, getting through the stuff.
You know, it's interesting, you know, that you asked that, because it's always been sort of a point of contention for me to talk about the woe to win story. And not because there's anything wrong with that. I do understand that people want to see humanness from their coaches, right? And but I think I've always kind of struggled with this idea that was the reason I became a mindset coach, and it's not. And so it's like, yeah, I mean, you know, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version of the beginning, and then I'll kind of answer what Sahat was asking me, which is how did I get started kind of transitioning into doing what I'm doing now. But essentially, I was, you know, I'm a biracial kid, raised by my white mom. My dad wasn't really present in the picture, raised in the white suburbs of Chicago. But before we lived in the suburbs, we lived in the city, and my mom, my grandfather molested me, like, you know, was in foster care for 2 years. She lost us to the foster care system. I was 5 when I went into foster care, came out sometime around 7, 8, right before 3rd grade. And then my mom had us the rest of the time. So she did get us back. And then from there, it was just being a Black kid growing up in a mostly white world and having no real identity as a person of color. And so figuring that whole situation out on my own without having any role model in the house, no one that was going to talk to me about it, and me not coming home to talk to her because what did she know? And so, you know, just stuff like that. But I mean, ultimately had a pretty good high school experience. Unlike most people, I actually enjoyed high school. My mom was a hoarder. So we were like the smelly kids for a little while because she liked cats and all of that. House burned down freshman year in high school. And then, yeah, true story. It happened. But the good news is we got a new house. So it was kind of a good thing, even though unfortunately a lot of cats died in the process and, you know, all that. So, and then, you know, just going off to college, you know, and doing what I thought what I was supposed to do. And I think what got me fascinated, I've always been interested. I was in track. I was a captain, very vocal, always, you know, same kid, just very, what's the word they use? I forget. But anyway, when you're kind of beyond your years or whatever, I don't know that term, but, you know, always being so vocal, outspoken,
Cosmic.
whatever. Huh?
Cosmic.
Yeah, that's in your reality. So anyway, I was like, no adults were calling kids cosmic.
This is true.
It's like they come from another dimension. No, like it's not incorrigible, but it's that thing where they're like, I can't think of the word right now. But anyway, point of the fact is, what got me interested, like, of mindset was that there was a time in my life, because of all the stuff that had happened to me, I would say, that I kind of thought that there was like a predestination. I was just talking about this earlier to my coach. I kind of, you know, I believed that, oh, I was born poor and some people are born rich and that's just what happens, right? And so it was just like, this is my lot in life, right? And then I grew up Catholic, and I always felt it was a bit problematic, like not necessarily like, it didn't bother me per se what they were teaching, but it was also kind of like this thing of like, wait, my logic brain was like, wait, so the kid down the street, if he follows everything that his rabbi's telling him, he's not going to heaven? And it was like, no, this is the only way. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. So, you know, that was when I kind of started, you know, I was always looking for something, right? And then I found gospel churches actually, and I loved them, Baptist, whatever. I didn't like the length of the services, let's be real. I mean, Catholics, you're in and out in 45 minutes. But, you know, but the gospel churches had the better music. And so when I got more into like the Black side of my identity, I guess, or culture, I really fell in love with it. And I was like, oh yeah, this is great. But it was also just navigating that whole process, what that meant for me and all that. So I've been gifted, I think, to come from two different worlds because it gave me a lot of perspective when it comes to race relations, when it comes to lots of things, because I kind of walked on both sides and also had no idea about both sides in a lot of ways as well, even though I was living it. So a long way around to say that one thing that just really perked me up. I mean, I majored in political philosophy in college. It was political theory and constitutional democracy. At one time, I wanted to be a lawyer. So I was always fascinated by the way people thought. Like I used to read books, even though I thought it was cool. But then after a while, I decided to drop that. But the idea of like reading, what do you call those things? Oh, books about serial killers, not like little exposés or whatever. Because I was just fascinated, like how does someone? Because I've always been interested with the mind. I think ever since, right? I wanted to major in psychology, but Psych 101 killed that dream. You guys know what I'm talking about. Those intro courses. You're like, yes, I'm going to major in this. And then I'm like, this is terrible. But that's how they weed us out. The ones that aren't passionate enough. They just give us a little bit too much science. And I was like, and then I took Psych 209, which was brain and behavior, which was all synapses, neurons, and oh, it was terrible. It was science-based. It wasn't like the stuff I was more interested in. So anyway, so I took 2 psych courses and that was that. And I wanted to be a lawyer. I knew that because I think also just champion for people, always wanting to be with people. So ultimately through many hats, Sahat, to really sum it up, I just eventually found like I was already helping people, always kind of insightful, giving good advice, that kind of stuff, but never really practicing it. And then I just really went hard on my own personal development, self-educated, not licensed or anything like that. And then just kind of was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Like when I'm coaching, I can't think of another time, or if I'm helping somebody through something, I can't think of another time where I feel more expressed through, if that makes sense. So.
Oh, infinitely.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you know, I love that you don't let something like a license or some kind of piece of paper that you get from an institution to hold you up, because what did our ancestors do? You know, they weren't going to these colleges and getting degrees, and no,
experience was their teacher.
Exactly.
Well, in some ways though, the Moors were the educators of the kings and the queens. We know this, right? So regardless, my thing is, if you need a piece of paper, then I'm not your person. Because ultimately what you really want to know is if your arm is cut off, you just want to know, can I help you with the pain? You're not really all that concerned with where I studied. When I walk into a doctor's office, I'm not like, where'd you go? Harvard, Yale, where? Okay, no, we're not going to this doctor, you know? Because that doesn't tell me how good of a practitioner they are. And so, but I know there are people that really like that credentialed stuff. So totally support it for those that do. And, you know, I just always say, I'm not your coach if that's what you're looking for.
And you know, I think it's important for entrepreneurs, because a lot of our audience are spiritual entrepreneurs. So I think it's important for entrepreneurs to know that it's okay to say, hey, I'm not the one for you.
Yeah.
I think it's like, it actually creates more abundance flowing to you because you're able to set up that boundary.
Yeah.
And so the things that aren't for you that end up creating friction, actually, like, you free that up, and then it allows things to flow more into your existence. So
because you can't serve everyone.
Right.
Exactly. And nor should you, because truly there is somebody better for that person, right? It's everything is like, you can break everything down really. And when it comes to anything to like dating, ultimately, everyone's not going to be compatible, regardless of the fact that we might be all attractive. We might have a lot going for us. But at the end of the day, I always say that I have the best clients, and obviously the best clients for me, right? And the best clients, I think they're the best clients in the world, but obviously I don't have your clients, so I don't know, right? I'm not bashing anyone else's clients, but ultimately it's just got to be a match. In order for us to create the magic that one needs to do in a coaching relationship, there has to be that relativity. There has to be that relationability. And if you can't relate, there's really no point in continuing, you know? And so it's not like I don't have the magic answer for everybody, because just like somebody who speaks Chinese can't necessarily communicate with me if I don't know how to speak their language. It's similar in the coaching world. So.
Yes, absolutely. So I want you to talk to us a little bit about, like, okay, how do you get someone, let's say someone is in their own way. How do you get them to master their own mindset in order to take them to the next level?
Well, thank you, Tammy. It's on Instagram. One of the things that I find interesting is that, we are the source and the solution to everything in our life. So technically, yes, we're all in our own way, but we're also the gatekeeper to open the gates and let the flood in. So that's the good news, right? So it's like kind of the bad news is you're the problem, but the good news is you're also the solution. So yay. So I think that, the first thing that I do with my clients, and it's so important, and I don't think people understand the depths that this can go to, is just awareness. Most people don't know what they don't know. And so it's, as I like to say on the morning meetup, it's not the method that is the magic. It's the person who's doing the method and the degree to which they believe in what they're doing. So while one person will say it takes this to get to the mountaintop and somebody else will say it gets this to get the mountaintop, neither has to be wrong. It's more about which one feels right to you, that you could put the most of you behind it, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of times we're following someone else's blueprint and then wondering why we're not getting results because we don't like it. We don't believe in it. We don't understand it, but we're kind of just like, well, they got to the mountaintop, so this must be the only way. Yet the mountaintop is 360 degrees around, and there are many paths that could be better, could be worse for any individual. So one is knowing thyself, right? You have to start with your awareness of self, awareness of the world, awareness of all the ways that you're looking at things, to then get the wider view of honing in and focusing in on the particular areas where you are holding yourself back. So first it's becoming, zooming out before we can focus in.
Yes, find what resonates with you.
Yeah.
Because
that will be your best guide.
Yep. It's true. And you can change outcomes based upon your belief too. Mm-hmm. Like going back to the Catholic thing, right? I was born and raised Catholic too. I'm half Haitian. My mom's side of the family is fully Haitian. My dad's American. And so I was an altar girl in the Catholic church, in the American church, and in the Haitian church. So I knew the whole program in French and in English. Like it was
nice.
But
magnifique.
But at the same time, like when you grow up in a certain ideology, you grow up believing that is true. And your level of belief is what manifests it in your reality. So like you were saying, like the Catholic versus the or the Jewish kid or whatever, those two people grew up with very different ideals and beliefs and values, maybe similar values, but they grew up and that was their world, right? And as you get older, if you continue to believe that, then it is true for you. And I think that's what's amazing about multidimensionality, is because we're creating these little worlds and dimensions within the same space. They say that, there's his truth, her truth, and like there's three truths, his version, her version, and like the truth.
The truth, right? But there really is no truth in my opinion. There's no universal truth. There's just really your truth and my truth. And so your truth, but what we have to understand when it comes to truth is that your truth doesn't have to be wrong in order for someone else's to be right. In fact, you can have all the different truths, hence why the multidimensionality, right? But when you talk about that kind of stuff, that's really complicated for people to understand and grasp, because they're just trying to, all they know is, look, I don't know about your different dimensions, but how do I pay my rent? How do I, like, hey, it sounds great about this whole 5D, 4D, 3D nonsense, but what are we doing with, right now it hurts and I need help, right? And so I think the most important thing that I do, and why I start my clients on my 8-week versus my year-long, because my year-long wants to talk about the more high level, the more, kind of in the cosmos type stuff that Sahat likes to talk about. But you got to build people up to that, because some people are, we're conditioned. We grew up in this world and we got fed a narrative that, like you said, if I'm growing up Catholic and I'm being told that's the only way to the top of the mountain, and then I'm like, okay, cool. Then I guess that's the way. And I'm so lucky. Oh my God, why was I born Catholic? And you poor thing. You were born in another country, in another religion. So easy for me. I got born in the right place at the right time. I'm so blessed. Right. And that's where I have my issue with religion, of course, but it's that idea, like, you were born Jewish, going to hell. I was born Catholic, heaven bound, as long as I say 3 Hail Marys and 4 Our Fathers, I'll be fine. So, but there's so many different ways, right?
Yeah.
So I think the one thing the world could benefit from is not feeling like someone else's truth has to be wrong in order for mine to be right, or being threatened by your truth because I have a different truth. Because in my reality, I'm the operant power. There's no other body in my universe, and in yours, you're the same. So, but that's again getting up in that high level. So it's just, for me, it's teaching everybody that whatever's out there is a reflection, and it's all about what's in here. And so going in. And it's like, we want to go out. No, they said this to me. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. What did you believe that attracted that? Let's go in. Let's deal with that. But, everybody's like, make lists, get rid of your toxic people. Like, yeah, you just got to get rid of them. I'm like, well, you've been getting rid of for a long time unless you change it. Because all they're doing is acting out what you believe people can be anyway. So I think that's probably the hardest pill for people to swallow is, unfortunately, working with me, you lose a little bit of your ability for me to feel sorry for you. Because I'm like, but really for you to feel sorry for yourself. Because at that point, you're making yourself a victim. Like, no, they did this to me. And I'm like, no, nobody did anything to you. I'm not saying that those words cannot be hurtful, but it's more about who am I choosing to be when those words are put out? Because words themselves are meaningless. If I said, you wouldn't be like, what'd you say about my mama? So,
we talk to our dog like that.
I bet you do. I have a feeling. So, well, I know Sahat probably isn't saying blah, 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 but that's what the dog hears when he's talking about all the Cosmos stuff. So, yeah.
I love that. That brings me to a point that I learned in NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, for those of you that need to know. But being flexible on your approach and being flexible with the outcome. Sometimes we enter a situation and we have a picture in our mind, like it's going to turn out just like this, right? And then when it doesn't go that way, automatically our defenses go up, we get frustrated, we get angry, we get overwhelmed, right? But I feel as though there's a couple of things. One, it's a signal that you are not in alignment, or it is something that is arising to get you on the track to where you want to end up. Right. One of those two things. And either way, it's a good thing. And I feel like one thing that we need to master in terms of mindset is realizing that when adversity shows up in our life, it's not necessarily, oh my God, it's the end of the world. Like, you don't have to freak out about it. Like, be flexible in your approach. Be flexible. Like you said, there's many ways to the top of the mountain. Yeah. You don't have to go the same way every single time. I love that.
Yeah. And there's something very important in that, where we actually choose on a spiritual level the life that we chose. Yes. And these are catalysts for us to get that opportunity to transform, to alchemize and change so that we can gain that self-mastery. So just like you mentioned, you didn't allow your background to keep you from getting to where you're at right now. You're helping other people to remove those blockages within themselves so that they can see the magnificence within themselves. Right. And that's where those infinite possibilities, we create our own reality. I'm not creating the same reality that Bryn has. We may be on the same wavelength, but she's creating her reality. I'm creating my reality. And there may be some potentiality, some focal points where it's like, hey, we're gonna come together, and this resonates. Let's bring this together.
And we co-create together real quick.
Yeah.
Like this Integrator Summit.
Right.
Absolutely.
I think it's really important that people look at those. I think that's what scares people, though, is like when we start talking about creating your own reality, everybody wants to be able to do that. And then there's that level of, I think it gets a little too much responsibility at some point, because it's like, well, I didn't choose that. I would never choose that. There's no way that happened to me, because of what something, and it's not in a sense of blame. And I think that's the one thing that we have to take out of it. But it's like, when people are struggling or like wanting some sort of answer, right? They just want a formula and they want to just be able to say, okay, A plus B equals C. Just give me that so I can execute it. But what I have continuously found, regardless of who the coach is, what modality they're coaching in, you're always going to find, no matter how many times people apply the same formula, different results. And so is it the result, is it the formula, or is it the person who's applying the formula, right? Mm-hmm. So when a lot of times when you say like, you spoke about you didn't say the word karma because I don't really like that word, but the journey of a soul, right? Mm-hmm. And so obviously in the most recent egregious thing that the media is telling us about is the Tyre Nichols situation, right? Is that his name? Tyre Nichols? Okay.
I believe so.
Okay. I don't watch the news, so please, guys, it's not that I don't know that something happened. I just don't know his name exactly. So, okay. But anyway, they spoke about him at my church and all that. But what's difficult for me coming from the spiritual side of these things is how to engage in these situations without joining all the panic and the negativity that surrounds these moments, right? Because it's like there is a force. I won't say that there's some sort of conspiracy theory, but there's a force that wants it like negative fighting, right? And then there's this other force that's like, hey, like you say, like, I don't know why Tyre had to go the way he did, but perhaps for whatever reason, this is going to bring something together. This is part of the healing. And I know that that's really hard for someone to say, especially if you lost a family member, you would never want to be like, but again, I don't know what Tyre agreed to on the soul side of things. And that's a high level thing because you're like, well, at the end of the day, he'd still be alive if those cops didn't do whatever, right? And so that's a hard conversation to have, but those are the kind of conversations I have with my clients because I truly believe that we have to get away from jumping on the side of panic and terror and it's all going to be horrible. And we're going towards a race war and how many more people have to die? Those are the wrong questions to be asking, in my opinion. So, because I feel like it just adds to the side of we're never going to win this. And it's the deck stacked against us and that kind of rhetoric, if that makes sense. So I think it's really important that we check in with that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, that is a beautiful point. And I love that you brought that up because that is something that I feel like a lot of people, we're moving into a new energetic space. Our planet, our solar system, we're in a new, literally place in space, right? And with that flows a different kind of energy. Yeah. And so in this new energetic space, we are learning to wake up and heal from a lot of those fear-based ideals and things like that. And for a long time, they have pumped fear through the media in order to control us. Yeah. And so I like to use this one, for example, like 9/11, a huge tragedy that affected probably millions of lives for the people who were witnessing this situation, the people who were affected, the people's families, all of that, right? And that was a tragic, horrific event. But in that moment, created a worldwide recognition, connection, worldwide empathy, which empathy shot throughout the ethers from our planet, right? So that raised our vibration. So it's horrible that sometimes something really terrible, something very tragic has to take place, but it's the beauty, it's the growth, right? Just like we were talking about in the morning meetup this rising about the seasons. Shans had brought up the seasons, like there's a purpose for winter. Sometimes things have to die off in order for those new seeds to be planted. Yeah. The forest has to burn in order to fertilize the soil.
Right. And people don't know that.
In California, you know about that.
Yeah. Yes, I do know about that. I don't live now I live in the hill, but before I didn't. So but I think what you're saying there is so powerful in that people have to see that everything, you said it earlier, you kind of said it's like either this or it's that, but it's also that, like they call it the bridge of incidents. This, I'm sure, from the manifestation world. But like everything that happens is a bridge of incidents to you getting what you want. So it's like you getting turned down for something is actually a good thing, right? You getting, because it's not what you really wanted, and there was something else that So it's difficult though for people to. It's funny because we spend all of our time preparing ourselves. Or I would say a good majority of society, let me say this, because I don't want to identify with that anymore, but there is a good portion of society that spends a good time preparing themselves for worst case scenario outcomes. Okay. And yet to see something as so real and final as a no from someone, right? That becomes like, that's, and I always say this to my clients, and I know this is possibly, I do it when I'm with my private clients. So, saying this could be risky, but I'm always like, no doesn't mean no, unless we're talking about in a consent situation, type situation, right? So I'm like, I always clarify that, but it's that idea that, somebody's no is not final. If you just understand that that's based on your old thinking, and it could be, if you really want that thing, you can still have it. Now, obviously, again, keeping out of the context of sexual, intimacy relationships, outside of that, it's like, get that a no does not mean final. It just means that what are you going to do? And I love the story of Neville Goddard. You guys familiar with Neville? Yes? No?
Yes.
And there's a story, not the Abdullah one, but the army one. So he wanted to get out of the army, so he petitioned to get out. And then they said no. And I mean, you figure if the army says no, nobody's like, oh, I can turn that around. That's the U.S. government. You know what I mean? You're just like, oh, I guess I'm not getting out. But not Neville. He goes to sleep 9 nights in his bed, in his imagination, in his home. And then they repeal the decision 9 days later. So it's like, that's an example of not taking a no as final and turning something around.
I love that. No doesn't mean no. It just means not right now.
Exactly.
And you bring up a powerful point. He focused on that in his mind because, when you get into NLP, there's a study where they took 3 basketball teams and they told one to go out and practice as they normally do. They told one to go home and just chill. And they told the other ones to not physically practice, but to practice every day like they would, but in their minds. And the ones that didn't practice didn't do good. The ones that practiced did well. And the ones that practiced in their mind did just as good as the team that physically practiced, because your mind is that powerful that if you visualize it with pure intention and with your inner truth, like this is true, this is happening, then you will manifest that into your reality.
Absolutely. Thoughts are things. And the reason being, I know everybody hears that all the time, like thoughts are things, but we don't really understand what that means. Let's break it down for you real quick in a consumable way. Thoughts are vibrations. Everything is a vibration, right? Down to the smallest atom in your body. It is a tiny bit of matter that is vibrating at a frequency, right? Your thoughts also are frequencies that are emitted into the ethers, that go into the field, that become a possible, like a realm of possibilities. That's what the field is, basically, a realm of possibilities. You, with your consciousness, have every ability to grab upon that and bring it into your physical life with your level of belief and with your emotion. Emotions are energy in motion, right? I kind of talked a little bit about this rising. Emotions are energy in motion. All you have to do is get the momentum towards what it is that you are looking to achieve, or whatever your outcome is, in order to bring that manifestation into your life. So your mind is the most powerful tool on the planet. I think 19 Keys said this: the most powerful nation in the world is the imagination.
That is so true.
Yeah.
It's also, though, like what you said, everybody says, they mistake that. They hear everything you're saying. It sounds so nice, right? I mean, you put it so well. I mean, thoughts, energy, emotion, all wonderful things. I do think positive. Why don't I have the shit? I am doing this stuff. Why don't I have it? And I'm like, okay, well, you did some affirmations. You had some positive thoughts. How was the rest of your day? Right? And that's the thing. I think it's bringing it to the practical for people who say, I did the scripting, I did the visualization, I punched the clock. And the way that I talked about on a live I did earlier was, you're like, oh, I was at the gym for 2 hours. I was like, oh, okay, wow, that's a long time. What'd you do? And you're like, oh, I just lifted one weight. And you're like, wait, one weight? You're like, yeah, what'd you do with the rest of the time? I just walked out, did a little tour of the facility, whatever. But the reason I say that is that people say, well, but I didn't get any results, but I spent 2 hours a day at the gym. It doesn't matter how much time you put in. It doesn't matter how many times you say an affirmation. It doesn't matter all of those things. It's not just believing it even, because belief is tricky. It's just a thought you keep thinking, right? So people say, well, I have to believe it. I'm like, well, nobody believes their affirmations at first. Let's be real. Nobody does. I'm rich. Bank account don't say that. I'm rich. Okay, you're going to have to turn off your lights. I'm rich. You're like, there's like this feeling of like, if I keep saying it, maybe something will happen, something will change, right? So unfortunately, we're taught to like, okay, well, I just have to think more positive. And so that's toxic positivity, which is just that, like, just go positive. It's easy, guys. Come on. And so that's how people hear things, right? And it's just what I call the 51-49 rule. How much of your day are you on the I have it side? And how much of your day are you on the life sucks, I don't have anything, nothing's working out for me? Wherever you spend a majority of your time will be the reflection of your results. And so getting people to be aware of that and then saying, okay, it's one thing like to say, I do affirmations, I pray, I go to church, I go meditate, I do all that. But what are you doing with the rest of your day? It sort of cancels everything out. It's a zero-sum game at that point. So I think that's why I tell people, like, the techniques are good, but they're there to help you get into a space. Because one thing I feel is a little too prevalent you said spiritual entrepreneurs. And so, but in the entrepreneur space is the hustle, the grind, the doing. What are you doing with all your hours? Why are you sleeping? Why are you doing this? Like, if you're not out there pursuing your dreams, what's the word? Relentlessly, then you're messing up. You're missing out. And I'm like, well, that's great for the masculine side of things. Where's the feminine side, which is the drawing to, the summoning? Because I have had things just fall in my lap. Like this. I speak places. Great. And then Rael is like, oh, Bryn should speak for our summit. She doesn't know that I put out there that I want to be a part of more speaking engagements in 2023. So then I don't have to say that out loud. I tell the universe and it goes and finds me opportunities and they come to me. And that's the part that I want to teach people, because too many people are teaching, go get it. Go get it. Don't wait for your ship to come in. Go get it. And everybody thinks that's the easy part, is, oh, I just work hard. But the hard work is actually done right up here. And that's the work that nobody wants to do. Just give me a formula. How much salt, how much paprika, how much cayenne? I'm good. I'm like, well, I don't have that for you. But here's what you have to do. You just have to believe in what you don't see for as long as possible. And you're like, okay, that sounds terrible. How much cayenne? Like, maybe I didn't put enough. And so I think that's where the issue is, right? People want tangible, give me something practical so I can get after it and then I can go do it. And so when you have a spiritual entrepreneur that's like, yeah, I made the most money I made last year and I didn't work really all that hard. And they're like, so you could have made more. I'm like, no, I was good. Yeah. And this year I'm gonna make even more than that. Right. But because I now know that I can create opportunities and don't have to go working clocks 24/7 all the time.
Mm-hmm. I love that, because you're right. People want the formula, but and I want to go back to the affirmations. I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich.
Yeah.
There are opposing forces within your mind. You got the conscious mind that says, I'm rich. Mm-hmm. And then you have the unconscious mind that's like, we don't believe that.
Yeah. Like, show me different.
Right. Where's the proof? We need the proof. You got the receipts. Like, but what you have to do is you have to get both your conscious and your unconscious mind on the same page. You have to get them both on board. So if you want the formula, you want the measurement of cayenne pepper, right. This is the measurement right here. Your unconscious mind has to believe what your conscious mind is projecting.
Yep.
And the way to do that, and that's why affirmations are important, is through repetition. Exactly. Exactly. You have to repeat it. And that's what programming is. That's what the media has done to us ever since we were popping out the womb, is they programmed us, right? So now you have to unlearn the programming and relearn the programming that you desire, the programming that is going to get you to that next level.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then you have to truly believe it in your heart, because how do people who do magic, for example, like when they take a napkin and turn it into a piece of money, how do they do that? They do that because they have willed that.
And we're not talking about tricks. We're talking about real magic.
Yeah, we're not talking about like, oh, I got this contraption up my arm. Like, no, we're talking about the kind of magic that ascended masters tap into. Like, these people are out here doing this because they manifest it. They can see that and will that through their mind.
It's all a manipulation.
Pure intention.
Yeah, a manipulation of energy.
So that's what we're going to be going into on the Integrator Summit.
Yeah, so for everyone watching, it's a free event. It's February 18th from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Pacific Central time.
Central. That's a new one, guys. Central. Put that in your calendar. You heard it here first.
It's every time zone.
It's two different time zones at the same time. I don't know how she's going to do it. Tell us. What time is it in Central?
Magic. From 8 a.m.
Is it 2-4? Is it 2-4? Is that what it is? It's 2-4? Okay.
Oh, man. From 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yes.
So, yeah. It's going to be amazing. Just go to theintegratorsummit.com. We have amazing lineup of speakers. Bryn Drescher is going to be one of them. So you got to come. I mean, come on now.
It's free.
It's free $99.
Don't miss out.
Yeah.
Invite your peoples, because this is about to shift. If you're looking to change your life, this is going to get you there.
Yeah, like let's take 2023 to the next level. A lot of people focus on one aspect, and Bryn told you, like, mindset, the 8-week course is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
But you gotta balance the mind, body, and spirit in order to really master self.
It's a lifestyle. It's definitely not a course.
Definitely.
I mean, not my thing. I'm just saying in general, right? Like, I always tell my clients, you're going to be a different person by the time this is done. So there's no way that you can be you're not going to start this and finish this course being the same person. And that my clients time and time again are like, you're right. Oh my gosh, it did work. So I'm grateful for that.
I love that. Our last couple seconds here, if you were to drop a gem for the people, like draw back the curtain for us, what is one thing that you're going to teach or share at the Integrator Summit?
I really, I know this is a terrible thing to say, probably. You're like, say something really wow, but I kind of speak from spirit and the time, right? But I was talking a little bit about, this morning, I was talking with my clients about this idea that patience, right? You hear that so much, and about the whole thing about the time construct. And so really helping people be extemporaneous, which we know means out of time. For those of us that have really big vocabularies, let's just make it real simple. Like, $5 words that just mean out of time, like to operate out of time, and to learn how truly, if you can look at the world as a mirror and understand that if there's a smudge on your face, cleaning the mirror won't work. So what I said today was there's about 8 billion people on the planet, and you can take the time to change all 799,999,000, that number, or you can just change yourself, and then everything else changes as a result. And so the big thing is, as Neville is famously quoted as saying, there is no one to change but self. And so once you get that, that's the main thing. So really teaching you how to come in versus out, and then be able to then project out like a movie projector, the movie and life of your dreams.
I couldn't have said it no better myself. And then I just got Michael Jackson playing in the back of my head. I'm starting with the man in the mirror.
Yeah. Him and Gandhi, him and Gandhi, be the change you want to see in the world. So
yes. We love that.
it.
Thank you so much, Bryn.
Yes.
We loved our conversation today. Everybody who's tuning in, join us for the Integrator Summit at theintegratorsummit.com.
The Integrator Summit.
TheIntegratorSummit.com, Instagram.
I'm
Awesome.
excited. I'm
Awesome,
excited
awesome.
for what you are going to be bringing to the summit.
Yes, it's going to be dynamic for sure.
Yes.
For
Yeah,
sure.
I'm like Gary Vee. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but when I get there, it's going to be damn good.
Always is.
Us too. We're like, we didn't even talk about that yet.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked so hard at times before, and I know we're about to finish, but preparing something, and then I'm just like, I just speak, and then it all goes really well. But I usually work myself up into a tizzy of what I think it has to be, and then if I just move out of the way and deliver, it works perfectly every time. So.
Every time.
Yes.
I love that.
I love it.
Thank you, Bryn. You have a beautiful rest of your day,
Yes.
and we'll see you in the morning.